Arcadian Vanguard presents the Wrestling News in your daily wrestling newscast for Thursday, July 10th, 2025. Good morning, I'm Mike Sempervive. We begin today with AEW Dynamite broadcast live last night on TBS and HBO Max from the Curtis Culwell Center in Garland, Texas. In the main event, AEW World Champion Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and the Young Bucks defeated Hangman Adam Page, Katsuyori Shibata, Will Ospreay, and Powerhouse Hobbs when Moxley tapped out Shibata. After the match, a brawl broke out involving all participants until Swerve Strickland was shown on the screen demolishing the Bucks limousine in the parking lot with a backhoe. The Bucks were later jumped by Strickland in the parking lot as well.
Swerve and Ospreay.
What the hell?
This Saturday, all in Texas.
Oh, you know the Bucks want some revenge on Strickland.
Prince Nana.
Yeah, you're gonna pay for this.
Yeah, you're very brave, Nana.
Oh, no, set him up.
I found the fathers. Remember, if Ospreay and Swerve win, the Bucks.
The show opened with a confrontation between AEW World Women's Champion Toni Storm and her All-In challenger Mercedes Moné, which ended with a heated exchange of words and some brief physicality before Moné fled the ring. During a promo segment, MJF and Mark Briscoe came to blows, with the rest of the Hurt Syndicate also getting involved to attack Briscoe as MJF ran off through the crowd.
Now, the Hurt Syndicate MVP, Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley, Sands, their AEW World Tag Team Championship titles.
They're always going to have MJF's back, that's obvious.
Well, he's got him on both sides now. Look at this.
Gotta be careful.
Oh, wait! Oh! Jet Bailey! Kevin Knight, jet speed! Getting the better of the Hurt Syndicate from behind, and now Mark Briscoe! A right hand into the face of MJF, and an MJF! He is fleeing out of the arena!
Megan Bayne won the number 2 position in the Women's Casino Gauntlet at All In by winning a 4-way match with Queen Aminata, Tekla, and Ty Mello. In other results, Samoa Joe beat Wheeler Yuta by submission, Konosuke Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher beat Bandito and Brody King, and Ricochet beat Blake Christian. Gates of Agony attacked Christian after the match. In ratings news, AEW Collision drew 310,000 viewers to TNT for its 100th episode according to WrestleNomics. That's up from the previous week's audience of 285,000. The 18 to 49-year-old demographic was a .10, also up from the previous week's rating of .08. The episode ranked 3rd for the evening on cable in the demographic. In WWE news, Shayna Baszler worked Tuesday's NXT show as a backstage producer or road agent, according to Fightful Select. WWE is reportedly considering using Baszler in that role going forward. Baszler last wrestled in April. She has been with WWE and NXT since participating in the Mae Young Classic in 2017. And we close with some deeply unfortunate news. Cowboy Bob Ellis, at one time widely believed to be the oldest living former professional wrestler, although his whereabouts were unknown, has been discovered to have passed away in 2018. The discovery was made yesterday by wrestling historian Alan Blackstock and confirmed by Ellis's great-granddaughters. A 4-time world heavyweight champion and widely credited as the innovator of the Bulldog Headlock, the tall, rangy Texan with his ever-present smile and cowboy hat was one of the most popular babyfaces of the 1960s and 70s. Born Robert Al Ellis in San Angelo, Texas on March 15, 1929, he served his country during the Korean War, making 53 jumps as a paratrooper for the U.S. Army. At first, a career in football seemed likely for him as he was briefly signed to the Philadelphia Eagles before the lucrative lure of the ring came calling, and he was trained for a career in wrestling by Ed Strangler Lewis and Sandro Zavo. Ellis made his wrestling debut in 1955 in his native San Angelo and began turning heads 2 years later while wrestling in New Mexico and Colorado for promoter Mike London. His first major title, the Central States Heavyweight Crown, was won in 1958. His rise to stardom was cemented in 1960 when he beat Dick the Bruiser for the Detroit version of the United States title while wrestling for Jim Barnett and Johnny Doyle. Ellis would remain a popular hero in the Detroit area for years after the Sheik took over the territory. He also held the San Francisco version of the United States title for Roy Shire. His star continued to rise in New York, where he and Johnny Valentine captured Capitol Wrestling's United States Tag Team title, a forerunner to the WWF World Tag Team title. While there, he was also a regular contender to Buddy Rogers' NWA World Heavyweight title, even main eventing Madison Square Garden against Rogers on 3 occasions. He won his first heavyweight title, the Los Angeles WWA version, from the Destroyer, who had been a protege of his, in 1964. He'd also gone on to briefly hold the IWA World Heavyweight title in Australia in 1969, as well as the Indianapolis version of the WWA World title, which he held for over a year in 1973 and 74. Among his many other titles were the Southern Heavyweight title in Florida and the Southern Tag Team title in both Florida with Don Curtis and Tennessee with a young Jimmy Garvin. He held the NWA Atlantic Coast Tag title with Johnny Weaver and the WWA World Tag Team title with Edward Carpentier. Deep in his career in the late 1970s, he traveled down to Puerto Rico and won the North American Heavyweight and Tag Team titles in Carlos Colon's WWC. Ellis was also in demand in Japan and did several tours there, including for the short-lived International Wrestling Enterprises in 1977. Throughout his career, the amiable Ellis also acted as a trainer to young wrestlers, which, in addition to Dick the Destroyer Beyer, also included Wahoo McDaniel. Ellis retired from the ring in the early 1980s and attempted to get into the promotional end of both wrestling and horse racing, but an unfortunate scandal that saw him convicted of a race fixing in 1983 drove him away from the promotional business, and he walked away from the wrestling business for good. Ellis was honored by the Cauliflower Alley Club in 1993 and was inducted into the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame in 2010. Cowboy Bob Ellis died in Ardmore, Oklahoma on December 21, 2018 at the age of 89. Our thanks goes to Alan Blackstock for providing some of the research that went into this obituary. And before we leave you today, we'd like to remind you that however you consume your content, you can find the wrestling news 24 hours a day and 7 days a week across social media. On Twitter, follow us at Wrestling News AV. Our Facebook page is also Wrestling News AV. The Wrestling News can also be found on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube page. And for those who utilize Amazon Echo devices, just tell Alexa to play the Wrestling News podcast. And remember to make sure you add podcast at the end. Once again, for daily updates, breaking news, and more, follow the Wrestling News across social media. And that's the news for today. If anything happens, we will be here to tell you about it. No clickbait, no paywall, just the Wrestling News. The Wrestling News is a division of Arcadian Vanguard, and the Wrestling Newscast is a production of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.